Hey, well, I guess there's two of us here. Sort of. Anyway, hey, how's it going? This just a kind of, I guess, an update on what's happening, because it is a pretty big change, and we'll see how it goes. But so far, it seems like Dad is all over it. So, I guess give you a quick update. I'm about 6 weeks now post the first event where I had a seizure of some kind of neurological disorder that made me present as though I were in late stage Parkinson's, and I could stand in for Michael J. Fox pretty easily. And continuing to have these little mini seizures, right, that caused me to kind of have this strange affect with memory, where I'm not really making a new memory. I'm sort of just out there, doing the thing. Clearly things have changed in a lot of ways. So, already kind of sort of planning to, close the chapter at work at Morgan Sound at the end of the month, and just decided to do it at the end of the week, because it just sort of made things easier in the transition. So that chapter has closed, and we're just gonna move on. Oh dear, I didn't change the date there to what it is now, I guess. Whoops. 27, I guess is what it's supposed to say there. Sorry about that. Things get kooky. All right, so so that thing is over, and I got some mementos of my my time in the industry, at least in some way. A couple of lexicon pieces that were kind of a big deal when I was one of the first studios that I worked at. There was like a real studio with tape that you spooled up, and you ran over the heads and everything. That was kind of the beginning of the industry, and then at the other end was when I the last company that I worked for, major, was again Harman Music Group, where Lexicon developed the MX 200, 300, and 400 series of hardware plug-in, and that was the last thing in that part of the industry that I did. So that kind of was sort of a bookend, I guess, or represented bookends, to it. So that's that, right? And now the idea, right, is to do this little this wacky little thing to go off and try to quote save the world, right? And the idea is really simple, right? It doesn't cost anybody a penny, doesn't cost them a dime, right? Just the first ask, right, is just a handshake, right? To agree that the fundamental the fundamental nature of all relationship, right? It's commonality, and we just need to kind of put it together, right now. And even if the other person seems completely out of touch and completely out of the other end of the spectrum, right? Just hear them out, and so I'm sort of asking for the handshake, right? For sorry, having a little brain fog right now myself. Sorry. Oh God, the Star Trek Next Generation episode, Darnak and Jalad at Tanagra, right? That's the one. Darnak and Jalad at Tanagra, where they had to come together, with, to defeat a common enemy, right? Or they would perish. And that the one captain of the other species was so determined to make the connection, right? That he risked his own life and lost it, but made the connection that he had intended, right? And it's a powerful episode that it's a really good, has all kinds of all kinds of tropes in there, that sort of thing. But it's one of many people's favorite episodes, as well as mine, right? Even from the first time I saw it, it was a fabulous representation, right, of the connection, right, that we have with one another. And that's the very premise upon which I'm going out on this tour. I want to do a bus king tour, right? To get on a bus and go, right? Go get out there, meet you fabulous people, and have you tell me where you are, and I'll come and meet you. We'll try to make it make sense and kind of put things in order. But we'll come out and set up and play and do that thing, maybe make some coffee, talk to each other, right? Shake hands, Darnock and Jalad at Tanagra, right? Shaking hands to save the world, right? And the idea of saving the world, right, is just to make it one notch, just push it one notch the other way, right? And that's just enough, right, to keep us from going over the edge, because everybody's all scared and freaked out, right? So all we got to do is shake the guy, shake the hands of the guy, look in his eyes, right, realize that he's just like I am, right? The commonality, we're human, right? If they're not human, then we have a problem, right? And then we should be addressing that promptly. You know what I'm saying? The first actually is super simple, right? Just shake hands, right? Shake hands and have a non-confrontational, non-adversarial conversation that's really and truly, right, and honestly and transparently, right, interrogatory, right? You're really trying to find out what the guy's about, right? What makes him tick, right? And really realize that he wants the same things as you do, right? They want their kids to be healthy and happy, right, and to succeed. That they want life around them just not to be too fucked up, right? That's not a very big ask, right? And even if you're, even if your politics are completely the opposite direction, right? What you can find out if you just listen and look in the other person's eyes, right, is that they are also acting on the angels of their better nature, right? So, however they got to the conclusion that they did, right? Again, another otherwise, erudite, well-read, well-meaning person, right? Who is a wholesome, right? They mean no harm, and that they, with the very same information, right, coming to them, they have taken a very different path, right, and they propose a very different solution to solving the problems, right. See, that doesn't seem to me like a reason to beat them up, right, or call them stupid because they don't comport to your idea, because we don't know your idea is going to work either, right? So let's just listen to everybody, right, and see what's going on, and everybody calm down, right? Take a couple of steps back and go, hey, what's happening here? Because I think what you'll find is we are being intentionally separated from one another, right, for the express purpose, right, of making us really easy to pick off when they want to, right? And so what I'm suggesting is if you shake hands and get to know the guy next to you, that when the troubles come, you will have a reason to care, right? Otherwise, you don't know him, right? You have no, it's every man for himself, right? And it's just, me and you, and that's it, right? And so just, like I said, when the wolves come, they just poop, scatter. And we are fundamentally a herd species, right? We are kind of meant to huddle up, right? And when the bad things come, we take care of one another, right? And in every, scripture of every kind, in every sort of, mindset, right? The idea of good karma and taking care of others, right, for the purpose of no other purpose, right? Of caring for the sacredness of life, right? That life enjoys and should enjoy a certain amount of reverence, right? That we look at it with dignity and give all life, no matter what it is, right? The opportunity to live well and unencumbered by our I don't even know what to say here, right? That we have been very bad stewards at this place, I think, right? We were given the keys, and then right away we fucked it up. That's the way I read it. It looks like what I see around me looks like perfection destroyed over and over again. That's what it looks like to me, right? And that somebody who hates both mankind and the Creator very much, and whose only real power to get at the Creator is to hurt him. So by damaging and hurting what the Creator loves, which is His children and all living things, the enemy, right, presents, he's the accuser of the brethren, right? So he's the one that always brings the legalities. In every religion, right, it's always going to be this sense of I'm better than you, right? And I'm doing it better than you are. So, like, for example, even in Christianity, right, there's a sense of, through the legality of the Torah and the Ten Commandments and all that stuff, right? Even though it's understood from the outset that you can't do this, right? Here's a list of 10, and it really just describes what someone in close connection with the Creator will appear as. This is how he presents, right? But again, it's taken like a set of rules that you must comply to, and rules, if you have them, and especially if they're very simple, it always sort of invites interpretation, and that is very much what the Torah is a sort of interpretation of a very very slim set of rules or commands or whatever descriptions, I would say, but however you want to put it, this is what it looks like, right? When you are in relationship with the Creator, right? Do this much at least, right? Don't harm anybody, don't lie about them, just don't be an asshole. It's a pretty fair ask, I think, pretty righteous. Doesn't ask a lot, my experience, right, and the experience of everyone that I know that has a really tight relationship with the Creator, is that when I think I was about 6 or 7 years into continuous, really deep diving into my relationship, right? And I was at another crossroads where everything was everything hurt so bad. There was nothing in my life. There was no aspect of my life that wasn't under attack or in compromise of some way, or in some sort of dire circumstance. Like everything that mattered was being challenged, right? And it was a lot to carry, right? And I have a tendency to, when under a lot of pressure like that, I have a tendency to sort of go caveman. I'll kind of I'll go to the hermitage, right? I close up real tight and don't come out until the troubles are over. And sometimes that can be a very long time. And, before I come out, or if I come out before I'm really ready, it's often an unfortunate set of circumstances, because it's difficult for me to really navigate that set of circumstances. So All right. So, hey, how are you? So the last chapter of my life, about 7 years, right, is now over, and starting the new chapter, right. So again, I had this about 6 weeks ago. I had a neurological event. A seizure of some kind. They sent me to the ER, CT scan, some unusual activity, which seems on brand for me. But there was nothing bleeding. But I present late stage Parkinson's, and it does respond to stress. So when I first went to the neurologist that I had seen before, she had pretty much, I could just tell, read the same abstract as I did. One done in the sort of Netherlands in the early 90s, and in which they addressed much of it as a behavioral health issue because it responded well to behavioral therapy, but because most of it was women who presented, young women who presented with minor symptoms, and responded really well to behavioral therapy. Whereas I present at the very other end, which is presenting in full on all the way. 56-year-old male, right, presenting for the first time with this, and I have this other thing that I've been tracking down for like 3 years, right, which is a myalgic encephalomyelitis, right, which also deals with the myelin, which sheath, right, that goes around the nerves, right, and it does seem that there is some demyelinization that's happening, and so I want to pursue that angle. Anyway, I realized when my neurologist started talking to me about the same abstract that I'd seen, I was like, I'm going to need more help than this. So I just said, Dad, help me, and tried to walk right through the front door of University of Washington Neurology. And they don't take anybody, right? They're really super selective. It's a big deal to get even looked at. And I called and just talked to the person in scheduling right up front and said, hey, here's how I'm presenting. Here's the referral that I got, right? And they said yes. And not only did they say yes, they said, okay, let's get you into all of our disciplines and see what they say. So they included me even into neurosurgery and into epilepsy, right? Because both of those will have the kind of imaging, right, which will give us a much better look. And I already talked to neurosurgery, right, who said, yeah, this is what we probably need. So no, but yes, So not as a neurosurgical issue, but yes, to let's take they have the imaging, and so they're going to help try to get a diagnosis, right? So because many of these things are diagnosis of exclusion, there is no test for them. You just sort of have to do the thing, and so I'm going to have to do a lot of challenge tests and tilt table stuff and orthostatic challenges and all that sort of stuff. But now I have the opportunity because I told them they have a very motivated patient, and I have nothing else going on. I'm not working anymore. I left Friday was the last day of work, right? So I'd been doing fewer and fewer hours because I couldn't do anymore, especially after this seizure thing, right? After that, I couldn't. I had no strength. I was down to at the very best a third of my regular strength, and at the worst like a tenth, like nothing. And so. And with the memory thing, I couldn't really function, right, as as anything, right, because I couldn't stitch everything together, and that's it's a little awkward, when you're trying to go through the world kind of floating, right? You're sort of unstuck in time, right, and you don't really know what time it is or how it's developing, right? And I continue to have these seizures that kind of reset things, right? So it's like, ooh, okay. So anyway, I'm in a position now to begin doing what I've never done before, right? Which is sort of as I prepare for this tour, right? Which is the first merch up. I'm gonna make some shirts, right? Like Zarnak and Gelada Tanagra, right? With the handshake, and probably like fuck the fucking fuckers, FTFF, right? And a variety of other like T-shirts and stuff that you can get as and probably have just like a donation thing or whatever. But as I go on tour, right, do this thing, it'll be like a bus king, right? Get it? Busking thing in an RV. So show up and put a little stage or whatever up, and I'll set up the keyboards, do the noodling thing that I do, right? And I can bring the ring-a-ding-ding freaky freak thing with me, right? And make that kind of part of it. And I've got the massage table thing, right? We'll just make it a healing area thing, whatever. And then ideally, right, if we can get some little tables set up, right, where people can sit down and sit across from each other, right, and shake hands and get to know one another, right? And that's the first ask, right? Just shake hands. And again, there's always a little bit more, right? There's always you can always do more if you want to. You can go the extra mile, right? And so that's what that's what I'm asking for. But I think it's going to create miracles, right? Is that just it'll turn the tide. All we have to do is just move the needle just a little bit, right? And it'll change the vibe that's out there, right? And I think we all agree that there is sort of an ether in which everything functions, right? And the vibe is going on, and we make it, right? We are the ones who make it, and they've got us now in sort of a fearful, withdrawn thing, right? And it just got hit me so hard because my friend Tim hit me with, right, fear and faith cannot coexist, right? Choose one. And I went, yes, I choose right now. Yes, absolutely. Faith, man. Woo, let's go. Right. And it makes a difference, right? It makes a difference, and it makes the miracles happen. Right. And it changes you, man. And so when you duo, right? Do unto others, right? When you do that, right, and give to somebody 1 hour of your time in a way that they can't repay in any way whatsoever, right? Monetarily, right? Numismatically, right? In any way they can. There's nothing they can do to repay you, right? The dopamine hit that you will get, right, is out of control, and you will want more and more and more of it, right? But all you got to do is once, right? And then boom, check it off your list. You've done it, right? You've helped save the world, right? By moving the tide just a little bit more, right, in one direction. The vibe got pushed a little bit more, right? That's all it really takes. But if it catches on, right, and you agree to the principles and you want to do more, imagine what happens, right, around you. Because the basic proposition, right, is again the basic of all relationship, right, is commonality, right, that fundamental thing. And I think that at some point, most people, right, if they are of a philosophic bent and wholesome nature, they don't mean harm to anyone, right? They have this predisposition to sort of, hey, I want to make the world a better place, and then they sort of realize that as they their youthful energy sort of runs out, and they realize that many of these institutions are set up for the specific purpose of preventing that from happening, right? And so they just kind of turn the other way and get into the thing everybody does, right? Which is to begin to build your life, and you start to build your pile of stuff and guard it really well, right? And that's kind of the way it goes. You just try not to be too big of an asshole, right? And move through your life that way. And more or less, right? That's kind of how we all do life to some degree, right? We take what we're given, right, and we sort of address those things as best we can, and sometimes it's harder than others, right? And it has seemed to me as I observe life, right, and people around me, that those who bear a significantly greater amount of grief and suffering, right, often, however, tend to be the most gracious, right, and most compassionate people, because they they have been in those deep valleys, right? And they, of all people, can walk there where nobody else can go. And I have learned in moments of very deep grief that there really is nothing you can say that will make it any better. And in fact, it would only it will only discolor the water, right, and undo the vibe. And so, if you want to really hold them and hug them, the only way to do it is in silence and just weep with them, right, and with their hurt, right, and just get in the same vibe as they are and just share the hurt with them. And almost every time that I'm needed, in a really difficult situation, that's what has been the most useful and beneficial thing, right, is just silent hugging, right, and sharing the moment of pain, right. It just sort of seems to relieve the burden just a little bit, right, that somebody knows that it hurts real bad, because some hits are so hard, I was reminded of, because of the nature of my, the way that this all unfolded, again, my working proposition right now, I keep, I guess, forgetting that I did get accepted in all 4 disciplines at University of Washington, neurology, right? But they're kind of moving me around, but the scheduling has already started, right? So they're going to put me through all these kind of imaging things, right? And at least, exclude certain things. So, Royal Hallelujah, we're doing that, right? So, and this just documents, right, everything. Because now, like I said, 6 weeks post the first event, but there's, it continues to be a series of events. And so, with that being said, right, that's just sort of the impetus to this, that I'm going to use whatever time that I have remaining, because I can feel every day that the person that is me, right, is slipping away just a little bit more. And so before that happens and, goes to a point of irreparable and the point of no return, right, I want to have gotten at least far enough on this madcap adventure, this quixotic, just crazy thing. But to set the world on fire, right, and go, hey, man, if you just shake hands, first of all, it's the first agreement, right, where you just shake hands and talk to the person across the table from you, right, in a non-adversarial, non-confrontational, genuinely, right, interrogatory conversation to find out what the guy's all about, find out what makes him tick, right, and then from and then take it from there, right, realize that there is commonality, and it is worth fighting for, right. So when the wolves come, you do care about the guy next to you, right, and you care even more, right, when you go the extra mile, right, which is the do unto others, giving of yourself 1 hour, right, to find a need and fill it. And again, I'll try to make it easier with the interlocutor kind of thing, but until then, right, find something that's really close. It's it's tangible. You can touch and taste and feel and smell, right. That's not like, again, giving $20 to Red Cross or whatever it is, right, and that money is just gone, and 95% of it's just going to go, goes to administrative costs. So, something that you can see and say, hey, I did that, right. That's the sort of investment, right? You should be making in your world around you, and I do think it makes a difference in again how much you care. So again, when the troubles come, then you have a reason, right, to help your neighbor next door. No, that's my proposition anyway. And so from this point forward, like I said, I'm going to kind of try to put some merch together. I never really launched or made active the Patreon account that I have, and then the page there. So there will probably be a launch there and a way for people to support it, financially. Because again, I've never asked for that. I know that Dad is involved with from this at the very start, so I think he's got everything covered. But again, if you feel so motivated, then we'll make again a way for you to do that. There's already, I think, a link or two at the bottom of the description of this, right? And again, I'm not trying to get into your pocket or make it a grift, but I am very serious about the proposition of trying to make the world a better place with as much time as I have left, right? To spend all of my remaining energy, right, to do this thing, and right, to call in some favors from people that I have never asked of anything, right, in my life, but with whom I've had good relations with, right, in all these different industries that are sort of, loosely, connected. And so in these sort of liminal in-between spaces, kind of moving between them in a really strange sort of way. And having really, excellent relations with people, right? And valuing these relationships in a way that, anyway, I think it's a good thing, and then such that people are willing to say yes now, right? When I ask them for a favor and say, hey, I'm trying to do this thing, will you help? Almost universally, they're saying yes, and so that feels really good, right, to me, to say, right on, man, thanks for your help, even if it's just to humor me. Right. They know that that I'm serious about it, right? And I'm a genuine person. It's a genuine, honest ask, right? It's a righteous ask. That, again, I'm not trying to get too deep in anybody's pockets, right? The primary thing is to ask people for their time, right? And just enough resources to keep the thing going. And really, that's it. It's all really wholesome and good. And there's already some really good buy-in, right, in some really great places, and in fact all over the world already. So it really is already happening when you see it in the mainstream media, right? I swear to God, I'll give the communities that I've been here related to love, right? And despite the I don't know, there were some hard words, but I'm not going after anybody, personally. It's just not my thing, man. But I have really enjoyed the people that I've gotten to meet otherwise, right? That there are a bunch of people who are really super valuable to in my collection of, I don't know, gems in the constellation of the stars in my heart, right? Those are the relationships that I really remember, right? That really stand out for me. People who really opened their heart and their soul to me. And we really, vibed together as we went through this crazy journey of life, right? And I just want to, honor and respect that. And I find a sort of sacredness in that, right? That it reflects the light and livelihood, right, of the Creator in a way that, again, is wholesome and true and effortless, right? That just represents the energy, right, of Dad that flows through each of his kids, right, who are tuned into him. And the colors that we emit once his light comes through us makes this beautiful tapestry, right, of color that is unspeakably beautiful, right? And that can only be the result of a loving, creative, beautiful, beautiful, perfect Lord, who's the very definition of love. And that's who I know. And if if you don't yet know that being, right, I assure you that he's out there, and you can ask other people that being does exist, and just ask him. Just be really serious, right? I've never really known him to really reject an honest, right, a really honest, broken, seeking heart who is really sincerely looking for that connection. Be honest, be transparent, and when Scripture says, many people misunderstand. It says Scripture says the fear of the Lord is the beginning of wisdom. When you do understand, right, that the Creator of all things, the amount of power that is who the Creator is so intimidating and over mind-blowing that the only appropriate response, right, is in a way, I think, fear, and you're just like, whoa, what do oh my God, right, like awe, right. And the first time that I encountered personally and intimately the Creator, I was absolutely certain that his presence would blow me up and kill me, and I was okay with it, but I was terrified. But then not, right, because immediately I was overwhelmed with love, and I knew I could breathe, right. So it was sort of like being drowning, or sort of like, I don't know, the movie, like The Deep or whatever, right, where they fill up their lungs with the fluid, right, but they breathe the fluid, whatever. Kind of like that, right? It's your body's not used to it. It goes against your muscle memory, but it works, whatever. Yeah, man. Anyway, I'm kind of rambling a little bit, but point is, I'm going to do this wacky, sort of save the world, but just by tipping the needle just a little bit, but to get mainstream media attention, right, and to make a real, I don't know, marketing campaign or whatever out of it, and I think it's a doable thing, right? If people will support it even a little bit, I think it's something that can be done, and I'd love to do it, right? Because the Bus King tour, right, it implies, in fact, explicitly is, getting in an RV and coming out and meeting people right out there, right in front of you, all together, face to face and hand in hand. To meet one another, right, and see and look each other in the eye, right, and make the world vibe, right, at a different frequency, right, something that is not hostile and polarized toward one another, right, but instead is on the same frequency, right, of compassion and alignment with one another. That's what will, I think, change change things and literally save the world, right? Or just by turning a little bit, right? And and again, if you're with me and you trust that what is in Scripture is true, right? That everything's already written, right? He's already done everything, right? So there's no reason to panic. There's no reason to get too excited, right? And if you look at it really closely, right, take a good look at it, because I'm going to start talking about this a lot more, right? Which, especially in Revelation, right? He says that there's those who endure, right, to the end, and and then you get a little closer, and the language is very implicit, right? That those who those who perish now, right, and by saying no to the to the proposition of the beast, right? Don't get the thing, right? Don't get the mark. That martyrdom in that way, right, kind of cleans your cup or whatever, right? And it very clearly says that those who those who go to their rest, and their works will follow them, right? So. Well, we'll cover that more in study, but basically, when you get to the, I think it's the fifth seal, right, is open. The souls of those who were martyred, and they say, hey, what's happening? And they go, hey, how long, right, until we're we get some comeuppance, right, for what happened. And Dad says, until the number of the until the number of the martyrs, right, of your brothers and sisters, who has been fulfilled, right? So just a little more, right? Rest a little more. And he gives them a white robe. And so to me, that is not only implicit but explicit, right? That there is a kind of a number that is going to be fulfilled. And all the way through the book of Revelation, there's a weaving thing going through there, right? That implies that this is a thing that's going to happen, right? That there's going to be a lot of people who choose to give up their lives and their mortal existence, right, rather than the proposition of taking the number and mark of the beast, right? So again, we'll look at that later, but that's sort of my take on it. But in the interim, right? I think we can help one another. So I am going to kind of start this campaign, right? And if you can, you want to, right? You want to see it grow, right? Sort of keep your eyes open here, and I will be introducing more and more things as we go along, and you'll see things develop that, right? The miracles are already happening. So I really appreciate the prayerful support that you guys have given me. Even during my absence, because having to look into all this weird neurologic stuff, right? And it's at its crescendo now. It's much worse than it was before, right? But I think, right, this is my take on it right now, right? So we'll see what happens and see what develops, right? But I think, as I kind of pray through it, right, that this is something that what the enemy intended to harm me, right, that Dad is going to use instead for good, right? It's going to use it to attract attention to it, and I'm willing to go through it's pretty gnarly, but I'm willing to do it, right? Do whatever Dad asks, right? To serve him. And so if this serves his purpose, absolutely, man, I'm jumping right in. And that's my take on it right now, is that with the enemy intended to harm to harm, right, that Dad will use instead, right, for his kingdom. And that's happening already. So, hallelujah. Woo! Right, there we go. So, I guess, again, watch this space, and then, you'll see everything develop as it's going to happen. It's just, it just seems to be the way it is already. Do I still talk with Wayne, Rose, or Crow? Wayne occasionally does reach out and message me, and I kind of just nod. It is more sort of informational, and I just sort of nod and say, yes or whatever. That has been sort of the thing. But no, I know. Again, I haven't really talked to much of anybody, right, during the break that I have been gone for a year and a half, something like that. So, no, right, and right now, to be honest, my target is well beyond the sort of what we would consider the truth community, right, out into the mainstream marketplace, right? So I'm trying to get way out there, and again, I'll give a lot of love to truth community, right? Got no hard feelings, right? I'm just gonna step out of it and keep going, right? So it's all good, right? And all love, everything's happy. So, but again, if you want to contribute and help, right? I would love it if you did. And again, one of the great things is. Again, as this begins to manifest, right, especially in terms of the bus and doing the Bus King tour, then the opportunity to get out there and get face to face and press to flesh with you guys is just irreplaceable in terms of tickling my fancy. So anyway, that's the scoop, and that's what's happening. That's the score. And so things are kind of, again, moving at a very quick rate. And but unfortunately, right now, I'm having a very difficult time connecting it all. And so Madeline has been helpful in terms of sort of helping write it down. And one of the things that I've done is when I left work, I made an offer for a few pieces of equipment, including the computer that I was using, because it had some files and stuff on it, and fonts and things that I had used for stuff, and all of the work that I'd done for the company existed at the cloud. So I just cut my connections to it and gave them all the pointers, and they had all the mission critical stuff. And it was ta-da, right? Because I had prepared for everything, all of this, right? So. Yeah. Anyway, so beginning in the coming days, all of my attention is going to be moving towards this whole. I'm trying to integrate it and get a sort of an admin and to help me put together all the pieces, right, and make sure that I make all the connections, because again, I'm going to be kind of a research study for UW, and doing a lot of imaging there, right, for them to kind of figure out what's happening, because there's clearly something happening. Again, it presents right now as late stage Parkinson's, if or full for conversion or whatever. If you look at shell shock, right, at the end of World War I, and some of the really profound cases or whatever. That's kind of how it presents, right? I could stand in for Michael J. Fox really easily, right? And I'm having a continued series of seizures, right? So, and some of it includes periods of blindness, right, where the vision just doesn't resolve, and so that's kind of difficult, because I really shouldn't be driving, and doing Uber everywhere is prohibitively expensive, right? So we're trying to have to figure all this out really quickly, right? So things have changed very rapidly, right, in terms of what again, sort of what the focus is on. But again, people have been very gracious and very kind, and so it's going to be a lot of stuff. What's the dill pickle? Well, hi David. So okay, I mean, hey, thanks. I appreciate that. Right. So my position again is if the Spirit moves you, right, do however you feel led by the Spirit, right, and that's all I. And if you have any questions about anything, or if somebody has suggested to you anything other than I'm just as I present, take it before Dad, right? If you trust Dad. Because it would be a pretty miraculous thing if I could get into life for me, right? Or hey, cover for me. It's like that. That's very unlikely. So if you trust Dad and you have a good relationship and you trust that relationship, just go ask him, right? And go, hey, is this guy what he says he is? And I think that's enough. I trust him, right? He's good to me. He's never let me down, not even one time, right? So no problem at all. So that's my take. If you've got any questions whatsoever, if you're uncomfortable in any way, right, just go ask Pops and let the Spirit be the guide, right? So the same Spirit that you trust, right, to lead your life, just ask, right, and go, hey, is this guy all right? So anyway, I trust it. I trust Dad. He's good, right? I have no reason to be afraid, right, at all. So that's my story. I'm sticking to it. And I'm super excited actually. Like this is an opportunity to I've always kind of been kind of really really worried about the parable of the talents, right? Look it up, right, where Jesus has the parable of the king who gave. He had 3 servants, and he gave one. He was going away, and so he said, "Here, take care of my property." And so he gave one of them, 1 talent of money, like big pile of cash, and another one, 2 talents of money, and the other one 5 talents of money, and off he goes. And so he made them stewards over his property, right? And they had to do the thing, and they didn't know when he was going to come back, and it was quite a long time. He was somewhat delayed, and when he finally comes back, he caught them unawares, and he says, "Hey, what'd you do with my shit, man?" And the guy to which he gave 5 said, "Hey, man, I know that you're a guy who's really aggressive in his work, and you have very high principles and high expectations, right? So I did the best I could, and I hired the best people I could to help me do this, right? And so I took that 5 and I turned it into 10." And he's like, "Man, you're a rock star, awesome. Here, I'm going to give you command over all this whole thing over there." The guy's like, "Wow, right on, thanks, man." And then he goes to the guy to whom he'd given 2, and he says, "Hey, what'd you do?" And he goes, "Hey, man, I knew that you are a guy that is really dedicated to principles and ethics, and so I tried to follow that. Right? I didn't lie. I had good ethics and good principles. I didn't harm anybody. Right? And I looked for these win-win situations. Right? They were honest and open, and I turned that 2, turned it into 5." And he's like, "Right on, man. That's great. Come on in. I'm gonna, you're promoted." You go, get this. And he goes to the guy that he gave 1, and he goes, "What you got?" And he goes, The guy says, "Hey, well, I know that you have high standards, and man, that I was really afraid, right, that you would, not. I couldn't meet those standards, right? So I just, I was afraid that I'd lose it, right, if I made any mistakes. So I just hid it away. I buried it, right, so nobody would get it, but I wouldn't lose any of it, right? So here it is. Every penny you gave me is right here." And he looks at him, he's like, "What? What are you talking about? Did I not, when I left, expressly tell you that I wanted you to invest this, right, and do something with it to improve the neighborhood? What are you doing? You plant it and you expect it to grow like a plant? What's wrong with you? What is your damage, man?" He was like, I was trying to help, right? I was afraid." He goes, "Afraid of what?" Right? Now, okay, basically this is the fuck around and find out moment, right? Where it's like, you know, yeah, no, and this is the part that scared me to death. Jesus actually said, right, wailing and gnashing of teeth, and right, oh well, crap, right? This is like right out of the kingdom stuff, right? And I'm like, oh man, oh, yikes. So not wanting to be that guy, you dig me? Yeah. So at least the minimum, right, of investing and getting the, the better than square root of jack, right? To invest it in people, right, and to again have the ethics and be good to them, and to try to give of myself where possible, right, and make people's lives better, not just not just to stay out of the way, right, but to actively seek out people to whom needed help, right, and I could give them the help in a way that they could not repay me in any other way, materially, financially, numismatically, right, in any way. That there's nothing that they could do to pay it back or pay it forward in any way, right, because right, then the thing that made it so valuable, right, was not even the act of service itself, right, but for them it was simply that they mattered, right, that somebody took the time to notice that they had a need and then to fill that need in a way that was meaningful, right, and that was the connect, right, that was the powerful moment. Hey, how are you? Right, it's just that there's meaning, right? That they didn't feel invisible anymore, right? That there's value to them. And right now, right, what I see is I look around me, right, is that people are suffering, and I mean badly, from just sheer loneliness. They're desperate, right, for a handshake or a hug, right? And it's killing me. Right, so it really is, and I mean, it may be. This is like actually may be because of the way the ether works and all that sort of stuff, and the way that I guess I'm tied into it or whatever, and sensitive to it. Yeah, it's so intense out there. It's fucking me right up, right? And yeah, maybe if I can get away from it, right, and away from all the shit that they got going up in the BMW with all the spooky shit going on, the spy shit. Yeah, maybe that'll help, right? I'm really looking forward to finding out. Right, but for now, right, I'm willing to again to give all the rest of what I got, right, to get this thing started, to set myself on fire and try to lead the way, right, to go, hey, here, shake each other's hands, man, Darnog and Jalad at Tanagra. Will you? Right, and see again, there's always opportunity for one more, and so once you get the shaking hands thing going on, right, it's kind of a play on words because my hands are shaking, but once you kind of make that connection, right, then the do unto others, will you help, right, and take on the yoke of giving to somebody what they need, without a mechanism for them to pay you back. Right. And again, I'm telling you, man, the dopamine hit it will give you is right. You'll never want to do anything other. And again, I think it's a valuable, and meaningful proposition, right? And again, it doesn't. The ask is super easy and doesn't require. Right, any financial contribution, right, or only the honest proposition of their heart, right, is will you put your money, kind of money where your mouth is, will you put your time where you say it is, right, and that's the ask. And I think it should be, Rick, really easy, right, and straightforward. And if you say no, right, you might want to just again double check your morals and what the what your level, right, of goodness is, right, or whatever, compassion, right, that you can't offer 1 hour of your time for somebody else, right. I think that's pretty simple thing. And I'm not asking for anything else, right? I mean, I'm offering the opportunity to give. Again, we will definitely need, some financial help along the way. But I trust Dad for this. I feel like Dad's all over it. His touch is everywhere, and um, everything is going at exactly the right pace, right? Not too quickly, not too slowly. Everybody that matters is saying yes, and it's remarkable. And it's just a beautiful thing, right? It's like people I haven't talked to in 15 or 20 years. When they pick up the phone, they're like, "No way, right? This is Great Baldini." Like dude, just did like half an hour ago. I was like just thinking, like, hey, whatever happened to that guy? Like, and that's just happening over and over again, right? So it is obvious, right, that Dad is right in the middle of this thing, and he's making it happen. So he's taking the, again, what the enemy meant for to knock me down, right, and instead, right, using it as an opportunity, right, for me to get in front of people, right, and say, hey, we are as a people, as mankind, worth more, right, than what they've made of us. Financial slaves, and meat for the human sacrifice at scale, right, that's going on in Eastern Europe. And making like the normalizing it that's so grotesque, right, and gruesome and ghoulish to me. So anyway, my position is, right, that if we do just a little bit of good, it will change the alignment of things, right? It'll get into the ether, right, and hit the ripple. If we can get it be hard enough and the release is good enough, it really will sort of tip the balance, like getting everybody to the run over to that side of the boat, and kind of keep it from capsizing. That's what we're looking for, and that's what I think is going to happen, right? So it's not even trying to save ourselves so much as but introduce this wave of good, positive energy, right, all at once. That is, again, I think, it's pure, it's honest, it's wholesome, right? I think it's a righteous ask. And again, doesn't cost you a penny, doesn't cost you a dime, right? It just asks you to test your heart, I think, a little bit. It's a good litmus test of your intentions and your ethics, right? Whether or not you're willing to really give of yourself, right, to something that will make the world a little bit better, right in your neighborhood where you can see it, test it, taste it, touch it, feel it, right, in a way that's tangible, right, and not some ephemeral thing that you just, you give money to somebody else, some NGO, and they spend 95% of it, on administrative costs, right? But you're okay with that, right, because it assuages your guilt to some degree. No, right? Again, this is just a real simple proposition, right? Will you? The first one's so easy. Will you shake hands with, right? Right. So Dharma and Jalad and Tanagra, right? If you know the reference, if you know, you know. If not, learn it, right? Just YouTube search it, right? Dharma and Jalad at Tanagra, Star Trek Next Generation, right? You'll find it, and when you get it, right, with when eyes open, when that happens, right, I think you will understand what's happening here, right, is that by joining together, right, to combat a mutual enemy, right, we can build a relationship that demonstrates that the fundamental nature of all relationship is commonality, and what we share with one another is our humanness, right, that we all generally mean well, right? We want the same things. We want our kids to be healthy and do well and succeed and prosper, right? And we want, things around us just not to be too fucked up. That's really all we ask, right? Pretty much leave me alone. Don't mess with me too much, and let's have a good time, right? And that seems to be almost too much to ask these days, but. Yeah, real simple, right? And again, if you look into somebody's eyes and realize that the person who has, political beliefs that are diametrically opposed to yours, right? And they're, especially if they're active, right? If you realize that they are acting on the angels of their better nature, because their intentions are good. And so in some way, they have been convinced or believe that this is the way to do it, right? That the way that they've been sold and they're putting their energy into is a way that they believe will actually yield results. And so, and that's what they're doing. And so they're not trying to harm you. They're trying to make the world a better place because that's what they believe, right? And so at least have some compassion for that, right? And I think some reverence, right? I really love, right? Really love the idea of the namaste, right? That we're when you acknowledge, right, the divine spark in the other person, right? That we all are children of the living God, right? That sense of connectedness, right? And that you know that everything that you do is connected and touches everything, right? So that there is nothing that you can do that is disconnected or in any way unconnected or unrelated. And so that there is no way to harm anybody else without absolutely harming yourself. It's just the way it works, right? And every single really serious, serious principle includes this idea, right, of karmic return, right? And this sort of comeuppance for those who have invested poorly, right? And those who have expended energy, right, in actively harming other people in order to get forward, right? That will add to the karmic burden that you carry into the next life. And make it more difficult for you to, resonate to the right frequency, right? And so, for those of us who are out here and see it, when when the lights are turned off and the black lights come on, and it makes it really easy for those who of us who are sensitive to see what's happening, we can very clearly now see who is active, who is not active, and who is active in a negative way, in a shadow way, right? And we stay the fuck away from them, right? And then really and invest really hard in those who are shining. And right now, the frequency seems to have changed so hard, right, that with the combination of this neurological event, right, and that some kind of change that happened out here, right, the best way I can describe it is that somehow I got pulled entirely out of my meat suit, and when I came back in, it didn't quite hit the right phase. I'm just not quite there. So I'm in the moment, but I don't have a memory of it. There's no long term, like the edits don't get made into a contiguous clip, right? So I'm just sort of floating out there, right, on top, and I'm not moving at the same frame rate. So it's a very weird thing. But I will say that every moment to moment. Very ephemeral and filled with the power of God, right? So that there are miracles every moment that I don't even have to, think about or consider. I just put my foot out, and there appears the next, rock for me to step on, right over the valley, right over the chasm. It's just so easy, and Tim just nailed it when he said fear and faith cannot coexist. Right, and so it makes it so easy to do anything, right? So if you know that it is absolutely directed explicitly by Dad, right, and the Creator family, when you know for sure that you get hit really hard with these bumps that are very clear, right, and it's not even a matter of interpretation, right? It's just a matter of whoa, that was hard, right? When you get those, and it's just a matter of follow through with that. Wave of spirit energy, right? When that happens, just do it, right? And then keep that fear out of there, because again, fear and faith can't coexist, and so just do it, and you will see it manifest for sure, right? And that will give you more faith, and you'll just keep doing it and doing it and doing it, right? And it won't stop until we hit the end, because from what my senses tell me is that the base foundation frequency has moved a bit more, so the quantum steps are now less. It's not as easy for things to cross over because they're actually a little bit closer together, but it actually makes it kind of farther apart because it's a distance, a ratio set that they're not that's unusual, right? So a little bit complicated, but the energy level, right, is such that I'll just say it. Here's the best way I can put it: is it's very easy, right, to tell between one and the other. They vibrate at very different frequencies, and it makes it super easy to tell on whose team is who and who is empty. Right, there are people, there are shells out there that are just empty, and there are others that are very active, but in very weird ways that I can't even see through. And I prefer not to look really too closely at them because if you do, they'll come right at you, right? And I don't want it or need it, right now. I've got a whole bunch of other stuff going on, right? So from what I see right now is that spiritual battle is like in full swing. Keep your eyes open, right? Keep your hands on the wheel. Keep listening as very close and tightly as you can to the Holy Spirit, right? And the whisper to the still small voice. It's not the big yell, right? It is still that still small voice that is reassuring, right? And compassionate, and that's familiar. Right, not the new big one that shouts at you. Right, if that happens to you, right, double check, right, your sources. Stop, right, go right back to your center, right, and just be, right, and listen very closely for the still small voice, right, and remember the frequency, right. Remember that, right, that frequency that. That heals you, right, and that loves you, and that fulfills you, that lifts you up, right, that is so, that corrects you, and that tells you who you are, right, that reminds you the nature, right, of who you are meant to be. That's what you're looking for, right. And nothing that is indicative of ego or pride, right? There's no arrogance. The first and foremost among all sins is pride, right? So let it go, right? Let the ego, let the ego fall away, right? And look very closely, right, for the direct light of the Creator. Right, it will always lead you in the right direction, and if you bring yourself into alignment with that vibration, that there's no way that you can go wrong. And if you're uncertain, stop. Right, so the command: be still, and know that I am God. Right, be still, and know. Be still. Just be. Let that connection just kind of go through you, right? And come back into alignment, right, with the Creator. And so in the same way that piezoelectric works, right, that under pressure, it exhibits electricity, right? Its force comes right out of it, right? So it makes it come alive. And that's its intrinsic nature. You can't make it do anything else. And so get your alignment back in place, and let the Creator move through you, right? Without, with no resistance, and then you will become everything you were meant to be. It's one of the stories that I tell. That's one of those moments in my life that was so powerful and so meaningful. Right, I was right at one of the steps to move on to kind of the next level, and but I will say in this case, like Mom, right, Spirit Mom came and said, "Hey, you know what, Randy, I know that you're kind of suffering here, right? That this is a really painful process for you, right? And I know that you're hanging on tight, right, and you're doing your best, but hear me out, right? The only thing that I'm trying to do here, right, is to get rid of the things that I didn't make. Right, so the things that you're proud of, right, and the things that you're the self-made man that you're really good at, right. Those are honestly things I can't use. So, and the only reason that this process hurts, right, is because you don't want to let go. I'm like, oh. And she's right, and there's nothing I could say or do to claim otherwise, right? That this the spirit was absolutely right. That it was sort of my pride in those things, right? And for a long period of time in my life, especially I'd say my late teens, all the way up until almost 30 or so, right? I sort of had not only a saying, but sort of like a coda that I would live by, right? That is sort of this sort of all or nothing concept, and that I was unable to really be I was very bad at being good, but I was very good at being bad. Right, so I invested very heavily in the being bad. I was very good at it, right, and so I could become very invested in it. And there was a period of time, and I'm not proud of it, but there was a period of time where it amused me, right, I guess, to be, I don't know, I guess a spoil sport, or you want to say what we, a troll, I guess we would call now, but we didn't call it that then, right? But I had a little period of time where I would rather trip up those who were headed toward the light on their spiritual journey, right? That was of greater interest to me, right? To trip up somebody who was honestly on their way into light from darkness, right? That was my investment, and it tickled me to do that. And again, I'm not proud or in any way groovy with it now, right? But it is a thing that happened, and I invested time and energy in that, early on because it seemed, again, I kind of adopted the idea, right, that I was very bad at being good, but very good at being bad, and so for a period of time I thought, hey man, if I can't do well at really doing this thing right, and it's and so I'm gonna screw this thing up real bad, real bad. And then how do I at least make it work for me, right? Well, can I at least make the energy that's here some part of how to get there, right? And I think that is always the temptation, right? Is at least from my perspective, is that once you realize that that there's the supernatural is real, right? And there is the ability to some extent to cause things to manifest, right? That are would otherwise seem miraculous or like magic to people who don't know how it works, right? That creates quite a fuss, right? And it also creates sort of a karmic imbalance, if you will, right? Because you sort of leave something out there. And one of the things that I have found again in my journey is carrying the burden that I do, and carrying the every man carries his own cross, whatever you want to call it, but carrying the burden that I do, I don't. I guess I just let go so many others, right? It just doesn't. I don't need to be performative in any way, right? I don't need to call attention to and say, hey, look, I'm doing this well or doing this poorly or whatever. Hey, look at what I'm doing, this way. No, right? That's just it's not like that. But I will, say that. If you're interested and you know how and you know what's going on, I guess I can say if we're doing the name thing because it seems to be important to some people, Zerubbabel is awake, right? And his power is derived straight from the King of Kings, and sort of in the image, right, of Elijah, right? So that's what that looks like, and not by might nor by power, but by my kingdom, saith the Lord of hosts. Right? So, I'll take my position in a moment, but until then, just lay back, be cool, and realize that Dad is all over this, right? So we'll see what happens. And with that, I think that's probably all I need to put into it today, and just let you know that again, the updates. My time working for the music shop is over, so we got that going, which is nice. And so pretty much it's going to go full time now into Save the World or whatever, and working with University of Washington neurology to see if we can figure out how to slow the progression of this thing down and see what we can get in terms of a prognosis that way. And again, I'm kind of okay no matter what, because again, I trust Dad, and I just really feel like whatever the prognosis is, again, I think this is something that the enemy meant for bad, and Dad is going to use for good, and I'm okay with that, right? So I'm his guy, right? And though he slay me, yet I'll trust him, right? I believe he's good, and I'm absolutely down with whatever he wants to do, right? So groovy with that. Yeah, right on. And yeah, excellent. So I'll just say again that part of this thing, right, is to go out and do this busking, right, busking tour, right? And so think of a place that I can potentially set up and do, a day or two, whatever, near you, right? That'd be super groovy. I'd love to meet you. I'd love to press the flesh, right? In Darmok and Jalad at Tanagra, right? You're going to love the thing. It's going to be a lot of fun, right? And doing it to others. And there's always more that's available if you want to do more. We're going to have a great deal of fun, right? Saving the world, and waving the flag a little bit, and making a little noise, getting a little tension. You're going to love it because it's all cool, because Dad's all over it, right? So you're about to see the power of Dad set on fire, right? And so not just in a little bitty way, but right in a big way that lets people know that we are for sure right in the middle of an absolute, real, honest to God, supernatural war, right? And many people don't even know it. So let's do it, right? So hallelujah, jalapeno, all that good stuff. And here we go. Let's see here. Do I have a little thing here? Let's see what I can do with that. So difficult. I think I got it. Where'd it go? Okay, sorry. I think the big monitor, or the TV, hang on a second. Yeah, got to change the input there, and that's where the file directory that I don't know, that I don't see. Gone. That's right. I win. Okay. So, here we go. Okay. You guys are super cool. I love you a lot. I'm going to keep you informed, right? And there'll be more and more as it develops. But you guys are the best, especially those who have been with me for a long time, right? This is it. We're going to have a lot of fun saving the world, right? And just being kind of ridiculous. Just that's what I do, right? Perfectly on brand for me. Just making it fun. Here we go. So anyway, you guys are super cool. And it's happening. Woo!